says that devolution has been a very good thing for Scotland. The Scottish Parliament has matured over the past 20 years, and so it has also grown in the affections of the Scots. And I'm also very proud of the fact that it is a Conservative and Unionist government that has given more powers, and yet more powers coming, to the Scottish Parliament. And I'm also proud that so much has been achieved in the Scottish Parliament on a cross-party basis. I think the best legislation in any Parliament, in fact I feel certain about this, is legislation that commands the broadest possible support. But when it comes to supporting the principle of devolved power, I was proud earlier this week to stand and be counted for the devolution settlement on the votes on the amendments that were hung on the Northern Ireland Bill like adornments on a Christmas tree. I understand now that my votes would be willfully misinterpreted and misrepresented. But I don't regret for one moment defending the devolution settlement. And those who didn't defend the devolution settlement may have reason at some point in the future to regret that. This is a place driven by precedent. To drive a coach and horses to the devolved settlement was a big mistake for every Scottish Member of Parliament. And yes, I will.
I think you and I, Mr. Speaker, are probably one of the very few that put that bill through about 20 years ago. And since then I've been on the Scottish Select Committee. I've got to know some of the more difficult Scotland faces. So I think one of the biggest problems, I wonder whether the honourable gentleman would agree with me, is somehow we've got to stop people leaving Scotland. Because Scotland's population is actually reducing. Now, something's got to happen there, but by and large I think the devolution settlement is working quite well regardless of political party. Would you not agree with me?
I think it's very important that we make Scotland the best place in the United Kingdom to live, and that people would aspire to live in Scotland and to build a business in Scotland and to have their family grow up in Scotland. I'm certainly very proud of Scotland, and I feel very keenly my responsibility and duty to speak for my constituents in Stirling and to speak up for Scotland's place at the heart of the United Kingdom. And that's why I was delighted last week to welcome my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, to Stirling when she gave a very important speech on the Union, among other things outlining the nature of the Dunlop review, and I recommend that text to the House.
Mr. Speaker, I'm proud of the fact that I was actually the only person present in this chamber who was elected to the Scottish Parliament in 1999. I served there for 12 years. I wonder if I can make the suggestion to the honourable member for Stirling that, in fact, the best years of that government, of the governments of whatever colour, was in fact the first 3 terms, when the 4th term one party had absolute power in Holyrood. That was when we got almost a dictatorship, which was very much to the detriment of the Highlands and Islands.
The honourable gentleman makes a very good point. The fact is that I think specifically of the first SNP minority government that was sustained in power by the Scottish Conservative MSPs on many occasions when they were passing their legislative business through Holyrood. But, Mr. Speaker, I mentioned the Prime Minister's speech, and I'd also like to mention the speech that was delivered by my right honourable friend, the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, because he gave a significant address in Edinburgh the week before the Prime Minister's visit, and they both addressed the matter of the strength of the Union in the 20th anniversary year of devolution, and both concluded on the basis of their assessment that the Union must be strengthened, and they are both right. The Union has been too much neglected. Now, talking about the Union is good. I recommend talking about the Union to colleagues on all sides of the House, because there is an understanding gap in certain quarters of the parties on both sides of this House about what the Union is and its importance. But talking about it is simply not good enough. We must now do something about it. And I would say to my friends on this side of the House that the thing that concerns me most is that we have a debate about devolution, an important debate, brought by these 2 select committees to this chamber, and there are no members of Parliament representing English constituencies here to make a contribution to this important constitutional issue other than the Minister. And I welcome him to his place. But the Conservative and Unionist Party must continuously rediscover its Unionist soul. We should affirm now more than ever before that we have the word unionist in our party's name, because strengthening the Union is core to what we stand for. We need to put strengthening the Union at the very heart of our government. And setting up a unit of one sort or another for the union in number 10 or putting titles on the end of other job titles, that really is lip service. We need the very structure of government to be changed to put the union at its heart. And I've said this in the past, and I want to say it again here and now. There are missing pieces of the devolution settlement, and those missing pieces are at this end of the country. And I'd like to make a very short list of the things that I believe we need to attend to, or at least consider and debate, because I very much welcome the Select Committee report of the Honourable Member for Perth and North Perthshire and the recommendations contained therein. And my first suggestion would be we need to look very carefully at the case for a powerful department of the United Kingdom led by a First Secretary of State for the Union, whose primary purpose would be to test every action of the UK Government based on its impact on the Union. And it would be further tasked to ensure greater cohesion and communication across government on issues affecting the devolved administrations to ensure there is better understanding and knowledge of devolution and the Union. And second, we need to put in place those missing pieces of the constitutional machinery that will establish stronger intergovernmental and interparliamentary working relationships, to move away from confrontation to close collaboration on crossover areas of public policy. These changes must be done on a cross-party basis and are essential for the post-Brexit operation of the Union. Now, third, the departments of the UK Government with a union-wide remit must engage with stakeholders and other bodies on the ground in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, as they already do in England. It is simply not good enough that that does not happen today. Fourth, the Government should bring...
Give way on that last point. As I'm sure my honourable friend is aware, and he's making a very typically impassioned speech, does he recognise that the Oil and Gas Authority in Aberdeen is a perfect example of what he's talking about?
Yes, thank you. I do. Now, the thing is, the government should bring forward primary legislation to enable direct UK government spending in devolved areas on a partnering basis with the devolved administrations. The Scottish Government already spends money, Mr Speaker, from the block grant in reserved areas. Fifth, the government should bring forward detailed proposals on how the replacement fund for the EU regional funding will be administered, and it should be administered at a UK level in partnership with the devolved governments, including councils. And sixth and finally, there must be an urgent review of English votes for English laws, because in my opinion it was a badly advised and an unnecessary circumvention of the work of the United Kingdom Parliament from its very inception. And the sooner it is gone, the better for the Union. Mr Speaker, I celebrate 20 years of devolution. Now, let us invest in the Union, consistent with the principle of devolution. The United Kingdom works best when we have shared endeavour, when we have cooperation and collaboration between our different nations and regions, and when we realise our similarities and shared experiences bring us together far more than they divide us.
Morin.